Hello and welcome to the show. It's your show, the JAB Show, and it's your life by design. This is where we help you to create the blueprint for the life you've always wanted. I'm your host for the JAB Show, and I am JAB.
Transferring or sending money with AfriMoney is simple and fast. First, be sure to have money in your wallets. Dial *161#. Select option 1. Then press option 1 to send to an AfriCell number. Enter the number. Enter the amount you want to send. Then enter your PIN after confirming the transfer details to the initiate. To send to a non-AfriCell number, dial *161#. Select option 1. Then press option 2. Enter number. Enter the amount. Enter your PIN after confirming the details of transfer to initiate. AfriMoney, na me get am.
AfriMoney.
Yes. Welcome back. As we continue this series, we celebrate great women around us. Our guest today for the show is Executive Director for Campaign for Good Governance, Chairperson, National Election Watch. She's been the independent voice of the voiceless in the country for over 20 years. Her handwork has enabled women to be able to achieve their potential, motivating them to acquire better educational access to better education, protect their civil rights, and become active participants in nation building. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome Marcella Samba Sesay. Marcella, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the show, Marcella. Marcella, are you the most popular Marcella we've ever had in the country?
Interesting. I mean, there's been Dr. Marcella Jones, and there's been a number of Marcellas. I mean, the name itself is about triumph, it's about leadership. That's how the name got its origin. And I know Dr. Marcella Davis as well. There are a number of Marcellas.
There are a number of Marcellas.
Yes.
What's different about this Marcella?
It's so interesting. And I always draw my impetus, from my early days as a proud Aberdeen Pekin. So at the age of 4, we crossed the river to school.
Wow.
And my school was right at Tower Hill Municipal School, right in the center of town.
How would you be crossing a river to
So
school?
because it's a whole estuary. Say for the Lumley, that's little road around the Lumley Beach.
Was it when you did not have the Aberdeen Bridge? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. That was the early 80s.
It's something for. Was there a time when there was no bridge in that place?
There was no bridge. So the only.
How many of you is news for you here? How many of you is this? So there was a time when that bridge that connected.
It was not there.
It wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
so that's history lesson for you. Continue.
So say for that small road at Lumley Beach to go right through Lumley, Aberdeen was supposed to be an island.
A cut off.
So we were completely cut off. And only the nouveau riche could afford cars at the time to go through the Lumley route.
So you would actually go through Lumley to come into town?
Yes, to come into town.
You wouldn't come to Aberdeen Road?
No. You can only come to Aberdeen Road by boats. And so the whole onus of zest, of vigor, of determination was born out of 4-year-old at nursery school, because my mom was a strong woman and she wanted the best, and the best government school at the time was the Tower Hill Municipal School. She wanted the best for us, so she would move all 4 of us from Aberdeen from the Central Nursery School to the Tower Hill Municipal School on a daily basis from the age of 4. From that early stage, I was made to understand that there's nothing in life you can get on a silver platter. You have to go for it.
But some people are born with it. Some people have it on a silver platter.
On a silver platter, and they could not make use of it. Look at the stories around. So most of the people who could be able to stand the test of time, because the truth is, especially when it comes to women, you have to wear your self-confidence. And for you to be able to wear that self-confidence, you must have passed through certain hurdles. And so when you say a strong woman has gone through the rubrics of life. And it doesn't stop there. It's getting very, very much interesting. And when we came to Tawai Municipal School, and that's my primary school, that was the pinnacle of authority and power. Next to my school was the elections office, the National Elections Office. I can still figure it out as a wooden structure.
Yeah, that's
and as you go down the State Avenue, meet the State House. Next, almost opposite to the State House, where Ministry of Defense is, the Paramount Hotel. So we were just surrounded with all the symbols of authority in the state. I remember also in 1980 when we sang OAU as a 5-year-old at the time. And one of the things that struck me even in primary school was every now and then there was this constant fighting at the elections office. So my dad was
next to your school.
Yes.
So every now and again would have had to go grab you from there.
Exactly. Wherever elections were conducted, they would come to the
fight would end up. That's where the fight would end up.
That's where the fight would end up. And they would be strewing papers left, right, and center. And my dad was working at the British Petroleum at the time, down the road, which is National
BP,
Petroleum.
which is NP.
Yeah, exactly.
NP now.
And it would just run up the road to get me. And so one day my dad went to get me, and I stopped him for a while. I asked him, why is it that every now and then they have to be fighting in the elections office? And he turned to me, he looked at me, and he said, Marcella, you would not understand. I said, no, that I want to understand. Every time you have to get me from school, every time they'll fight in this office.
Why do they have to fight in this office? He said to me,
oh, there are some people who just cannot count the votes properly. And I said to myself, how hard is it to count?
How hard is it?
One day, I'll make sure the votes are counted properly. And so my inspiration was right in my primary school.
Wow.
To understand what politics and governance mean. To understand that the lives of people can be destroyed by bad leadership and bad decisions. So because people could not count the votes right, our school programs were distorted on a constant basis. And so this is where I drew my impetus. And these are all moments I reflect on because I am the last of 4. And my brother and my brother is the eldest. My 3 sisters before me, they were all singing in the choir.
Singing, what part in the choir were you singing?
I sang soprano and I sang alto.
And actually you talk like you can sing because your voice is halfway. So
that's the highest pitch I can do.
That's the highest pitch you could get to.
Yes, I can do soprano.
So you went in the choir.
At the age of 7. So that day, they were practicing for the choir festival. And I said, then I can sing. And they were saying to me, no. You know, those moments were moments the choir master was the most gifted.
The most
gifted. And they said, no, the choir master would not allow you. And so that day, my dad was my favorite. He's my favorite inspiration. I can get away with so many things with him. And I whispered to him when they were going to the choir practice. And I said, Dad, can I join you? He said, yes, you can. And I went. So I was sitting at the back. So they were doing the dress rehearsal for the choir festival, and I got up from my seat. And this is a lesson I want the young people to learn, that you need to take the step forward. And I got up from my seat and took the challenge. This choir master that they so fear, I went to the choir master, and I said to the choir master, can I join them to sing for the festival? And he looked at me like this, can you sing? And I said, yes. And he asked the organist to pitch the tune, and I sang because they have.
You've been practicing. You've been rehearsing with them at all already.
And I sang, and he was so elated, and he said, "You can join the team." So
that's how you joined
the choir at the age of 7.
Challenge. So
right from an early stage, my entire orientation changed, and I think I should challenge injustice. I feel, and it's a passion that's bigger than life in me. I cannot sit and see people suffer. I cannot it's something that my natural self cannot take. There are some places I cannot go because naturally, if I walk into an office, a public office now, and I see the front desk officer, the receptionist lying on the table, naturally I will just Can you sit up?
You'll be repulsed. You would really do
I
that.
mean, it's so impulsive.
Even if they're not reporting to you, you say, you come out, man. They will ask you, say, you come out, man.
You see the look at Swantisma, but then they will sit up straight and they will understand. And I went to rebuilding a couple of days just recently, and this guy was lying. I mean, right at the front of the security check, this guy was lying on top of a table. And I looked at the police officer. The police officer was so complacent. And I whispered to the police officer. I said, officer, this is a public place. Can that man just get up? And she ran to tell him, get up, get up. And the man was sleeping complacently. In the front of the building. So these are just natural. So from time to time, I just can't, some things that people can just think it's natural. It's normal. It's not normal
It's not supposed to be normal.
It's not supposed to be normal. And so I begin to see that for anything you want, you can go for it.
That's the choose to challenge bit. If you want something,
go for it.
You have to go for it, whether you're male and you're female. That is the best way to pause. But my guest on the studio is Marcella Samba Sesay. Are you happy that she's here? You were already inspired. Stay with us. Stay with us and go away.
Sim Couple allow old and young to make deposits and withdraw cash from their account at any time and anywhere. With Rokel Commercial Bank Sim Couple, you can send and receive money at any place and any time. Rokel Commercial Bank don't make life better for we all.
Welcome back. Celebrating International Women. Today is the JB show, and our guest today on the show is Marcella Samba Sesay, one of the voices of the voiceless in the nation, who, at the risk of everything, has just been consistent in being vocal. Now let's walk through a couple of the stuff. So it was Tawel Municipal. Then what secondary school?
St. Joseph Secondary School.
St. Joseph Secondary School, and then.
Milton
Margaret, what did you give then?
Milton Margaret Teachers College in 1992. I did English and Government.
Okay, English and Government. Now, so who else in your family is like you? Who did you take after that was before you, that got you?
It's my mom. My mom, my elder sister, myself.
Don't they get worried about you and the way you talk?
My elder sister is very much like myself, gets worried all the time.
And so
she's like,
Pekin,
what's happening?
But
and the years is on the ground.
But you know, a lot of the time people will tell you, Pekin, set you more. Take time to.
And you know our family, the background I come from. And the queer people are conservative.
That's
people.
What I'm saying. They don't normally know they go to
especially when it comes to politics.
No.
No, they don't want to interfere in it. They don't even want to.
So where are you pulling on? So where are you coming from? Who are you pulling on? Where are you coming from?
So what is different? Why is she saying?
Why?
This?
So why do you think? And again, you say you're going back to school. They were on in there. But how many of these things, when they happen to you like that, how much of it is really natural? How much of it is they have this in nurture and nature? How much of this is inbred, inborn? That it's almost like you were hand chosen in a generation. That's personally, I feel that way.
That's quite true, and that's the interesting bit of it. And so they will hold this meeting to have me on the phone. Every other person, I will just receive this call, and every other person is on the phone with me, and I will know that okay. So today is another day to speak about my security, to talk about everything, to talk about how scared they are and to be worried and everything. And I would listen to them because, it's their right to feel that way because they love me though. And in the final analysis, one by one, I start with the soft spot and leave all the hardliners. I know the soft spot family members. I begin to convince them one by one. And by the time all of them are on board, Yes, it's true. I think it's true. People should not suffer that
They should
way.
also, right,
I think
so-
you are right. And one by one, the entire meeting would be, it's true, it's true. So I've mobilized support. People around me have mobilized support. It's about building a critical mass to understand that what I'm advocating for, the things I'm talking about, and people understand that I'm genuine because it's not about me.
So because there are times
Honestly,
people.
I didn't grow up in poverty. I don't understand what sleeping hungry means.
Okay.
I don't, to be honest. I have never slept hungry. I got into a family. My mom was the biggest entrepreneur at Aberdeen. My dad works for an oil company. I have never known what hunger is. But I hate to see kids going hungry. I hate to see lives battered. So it's not about a situation. So what I'm doing is not about me. There will be no time. I studied in the UK. So the basis of all, I don't in any way do this for myself.
When was the time that you've been most threatened, that you were scared for yourself?
I am not. To
Never,
be honest
ever.
with you, many a times it's my friends, my family
Who would be
worried. But personally, I'm not. Because I know that even the people who would put up a face, it's because they want to put up a face. But deep down, there is a soft spot. Every human being has that soft spot. Because they know deep down that what I am talking, what I am saying, is by no means against any personality or individual. It's against an issue, it's against a system, it's against injustice.
Now,
and nobody wants to feel
let's
it in
replace.
life.
There's something I want to replay, and which I think is very important, even for you young people here, and maybe you're watching us, wherever you're watching or listening. And this is one reality I've come to struggle to process, where we can be aggressive about certain things at certain level because of the stress and pressure that puts on us. You're poor and you're taking a taxi from PZ to Lumley, and because they have to switch 3 times, you say I'll come to Congo Cross, and then you say then I'll go to Aberdeen Road, then I'll go to Lumley, and you'll be angry. And so you keep it in yourself and said, when I get to the position where I can influence anything, it's never going to happen. But it gets to the point where people forget what it means like to be them. And once you get to power, once you fly out of the country once you sleep in a 5-star hotel, you do it 2-3 times, you forget what it feels like to be them. It happens to a lot of people. They were very vocal 5 years ago in the previous government, very aggressive. Somebody says it's not. You can't be talking when you're eating.
It's bad manners.
It's bad manners to talk when you're eating. So they get to a point in time. Either again, it's at the threat of their own well-being, their survival and their well-being. You can't get this job. This is what you have to do to be able to make sure you keep this position. You have to be quiet on this issue. You can't be talking like this and keep this job. And so there are natural extenuating factors that cause this to happen. You either naturally forget what it feels like to be them, or there are issues that have to do with your own personal well-being. How do you handle those things, Marcella? This is a reality. How do you explain that, and how are you able to? What would you say to those people?
You say that's the point I want to underscore. Most of the people, even those in leadership, when I say leadership, I'm talking about the highest political power in the country. In any country, leadership is a very lonely place. Leadership is a lonely place. To get people who could speak to you, to get people who could direct you, to get people who could show you the way, to get people who could understand. There is no leader, I believe this deep down in my heart, there is no leader who is not ordained by God. It's not every other person who can be a leader.
There's another argument where there's a system that it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter how determined you are, the system eats up its good ones. And so you could be determined, you come to the place, it's overwhelming. In state institutions, there's a system there. And the system eats you up. And you're finished. There's no way. The system gets you to play according to the rules that they have there. What response do you have for this?
That's it. The underlying causes of poverty. You know, it's scrambling.
But how do you handle that? I'm talking about on the part. What answer do you have for those?
The point of how do we get leaders who are not partisan inclined?
Is it possible? Is it possible to be able to do that? United States of America. It's very difficult. United States of America.
Look
at what happened with
when we
President
talk about
Trump.
political parties these days, even when you want to convince young people about the values of political parties, they don't understand what political parties are. For them, political parties is about these two parties in Sierra Leone who have been just fighting. These two parties in Sierra Leone who have an history of destroying the nation. These two parties who for 60 years we keep talking about corruption and accountability. But they don't understand that political parties are the avenues for choices. And my understanding
for choices.
My understanding of politics is how to better our lives.
I want to round out on a couple of stuff. Few questions. That's generally about women. Well, are there times you regret your women, particularly in moments where you think this is just being bullied and the only reason why people are treating me this way is because I'm a woman. If I were a man, they wouldn't do it that way. Are there moments when you face something like this and you wish you were a man?
No, I don't wish I was a man. I always proudly say I am so happy and I feel fulfilled.
But there are moments where, people really look down and treat you in such a way.
Especially when you understand the dynamics of a patriarchal society. There are moments when they will never do this to a man.
To a man, they don't want to do that. Now, when you say patriarchal society, that's a big word. What does that mean? Patriarchal.
A society that only believes and perceives in the dignity, strength of men. Women are the weakest sex.
And they're second class.
Yes,
they're, whatever happens. At an intelligence level, they are lower in everything. In strength, in emotion.
So for you to have a room and ascend to that height, it's
and even in
people.
religion, in some certain levels, it's
yes. So it dominates. Patriarchy dominates a lot of spaces, and in fact, even among women.
They also
when
have.
You see people talking about, when you see people talking about women and not supporting women.
Nina discussed. I was going to ask that question. Who's the biggest? What's the biggest impediment to women advancing in leadership roles? Women themselves or men? So it says a new election, even women can't vote for themselves.
You see, if your orientation right from the start, your orientation is she cannot do it. Your orientation at home, you have sex roles. Whilst the
there are roles that the boys should do.
They will be kicking football. She should be at home. She should be cooking. She should clean the dishes. If the orientation from day one is that you are not made for that role, you understand?
Wow.
That is it. So and when people tell you that, don't go. We are scared for you.
That's at the basic. If you were a man, they wouldn't tell you that.
And
it's just because you're a woman.
People are not even used. When I speak, especially when I want to make an impression, those who know me, when I speak and I want to make an impression, I raise my voice. I have a very small voice.
Yes,
so when I shout, you really know that she's shouting. And I raise my voice, and somebody will say, a woman doesn't speak like that. And I would say you have to get used to it. Those who know me, they know that when push has come to shove, I would cry and will be moving. And when the men around me, when they see me cry, they know the motherly role has taken effect. And they are so weak. They are so weak and they just comply. So I cry. People, that's a natural.
And that's not manipulating. That's not manipulating anybody.
It's very manipulative as well. It can be very manipulative as well. But really, when emotions, I cry.
It shouldn't disqualify women from leadership roles.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Sometimes it's tough. And, I remember I will share this sort of story with you. And sometimes people do ask me. So those who remember, they remember during the 2018 elections, I'm leading a coalition of local observers, 400 across the country. So the data came to the we call
situation
it
room.
The situation room, the red room. And analysts presented the data. And by the time Sierra Leone, was hot. The temperature was hot. Both lead parties say they have won the election. The one party was dancing, the other one was dancing. And people were confused because no two people that
can win. Yeah.
No two parties would win anyway. One has to win. So the people were discussing this over and over again. And, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And they say we have to save the situation. And I am the leader. And that's where the boss lady issue came. From the uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And they said, you have to take this thing. You have to. And those who saw me on TV that day, they know that I was literally crying. My eyes were red. And Sierra, can you? And it was like, deep down, can you allow Sierra Leone to go into flames? You have the data and you sit back and everybody, we should say it. We should say it.
Okay.
Marcella, we should say it. And you
so
look
you
at
were the
every
first,
other person from across the country.
So you were the first person, and New was the first organization that really published the data.
There, they got me the document, I read it, and I cried. And everybody started crying. Those who were with me in the room, they were crying too. And I said, let's us pray. And we prayed. And we found strength. My eyes were red, and the media was all there. The room was full.
Yeah.
I mean, the auditorium, we were in the room, and I came out, my eyes were red. And I raised it up, and I said, what we saw, we did not see any of the parties winning. It's going to be a runoff.
A runoff. I think you were the first set of
other person. So this was not about me. It was just about leadership.
Wow.
I was only speaking the voice of all those who have collected data.
The data. And to say there was, and it ended up being the fact that there was no winner.
There was no winner
that was going to be a runoff.
So it's all about, it's the understanding, the orientation of women as leaders.
Put your hands together. What a lovely one. That is a lovely dream, and what a way to be able to wrap up this. And it's just the point. That was Marcella Samba Sesay. You want to put your hands again once more together for her? That's been big and that's been beautiful. What a time we've had with this amazing lady, woman leader in the country. Women as leaders and decision makers at all levels are critical. This is a major point, very important point. Women are critical to advancing economic, social, and political progress for all. A couple of weeks back, couple of months back, I signed up as a he for she. He for she, you know what's he for she? That's men standing up for women to say, I support women all the way, and I do support women all the way. I have 3 girls, and like Marcella has shared, I want to be able to see my girls rise up to the highest level with nothing limiting them. And studies are showing that men are increasingly getting okay with the idea. They're getting okay with the idea that though women are different, it does not make them inferior. Women have equal capabilities as men, and if given the chance, they can match and they can actually exceed what men can do. And so it's time for the younger generation to join, whoever else, join the younger generation to say, recognize the benefits of women in leadership and commit more to placing even more women in positions of power. And deal with all the emotions that they bring in. We'll deal with it when they come in there. That's all we have for you for today's show. Don't forget, the show does not end yet. Join us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter for more tips and notes on how you can create the life you've always wanted. On behalf of our sponsors and partners, AfriCell, RC Bank, AYD Media Empire, and Chicken Town. Till we meet again next time on this show. Continue to design and create the future you want to experience. I've been your host, Joe Abbas Bangura. Stay blessed. God bless you. Are you okay?